now.
Hi team, good afternoon, happy Friday. I'm sorry I can't be there with you guys today, but I'm glad that we were able to find another way to leverage our resources of technology to make this work. I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit about fanatical prospecting, not only from my perspective, but also from a book we've been reading as a sales team. And there's just a lot of key points I thought I would share with you that I took away in a big way, an impactful way as well. So I really do look forward to this. So when I thought about fanatical prospecting, I looked at the definition of fanatical because that's really the piece that stood out to me. And according to Google, fanatical is defined by filled with single, excessive, and single-minded zeal. So I also thought, okay, well, what does that mean? So I looked up the synonyms, and they were enthusiastic and eager. So I thought that was interesting because we're enthusiastically trying to get in front of the right people, but also eager to attain results. And so when I look at our roles, not only from the loan processor standpoint and the loan associate, we're we're really trying to attain the same thing. We have to be fanatical by nature to be successful. So who is a fanatical prospector? As I shared earlier, it's not just salespeople that need to be fanatical, but the support roles too. So for the loan processor, some clients are just tough to get in contact with. We can be fanatical in our approach to get in touch with them without being annoying about it. So some ways that we can get creative are through text, email, call, and really just establishing the right rhythm that works for both parties, and also to ensure that we get our results that we're looking for, which is either closing a loan or completing a refinance or getting information to lenders in a timely fashion. For loan associates, really, we're just trying to meet anyone and everyone. So on a daily basis, we are being fanatical in our approach to get in front of the right people, but also prospecting the right people that we want to have around us. So we're building our book around who it is that we're working with and the right kind of people. So one example that I thought was really interesting that stood out to me, one of my really good friends, they're in the wealth management industry and they're fanatical prospectors. And one example that they shared with me was a hot tub story. So my friend's dad was actually on vacation with his mom, and he was in the hot tub just kind of relaxing, you know what vacationers do. And he happened to strike conversation with the man next to him. And it turns out that they were having, good small talk, friendly conversation that led to an opportunity for my friend's dad to share what they do for a living. And it just so happened that the other vacationer was maybe in the market to find someone to help with managing their finances. And so it turns out that my friend's dad was able to land one of their top clients in the hot tub on vacation. So that was a primary example of being a fanatical prospector, which we normally wouldn't think of at all. So it just shows you can meet anyone or anyone and everyone, no matter what. You just have to put the effort forward to make that happen. So right now, I'm just going to pause the video and allow you guys to have some discussion around the last couple slides we just discussed. So, one of the questions I thought of was, how do you feel fanatical prospecting can be used as a tool in your role? So I'm going to let you guys talk about that. And then also as a follow-up, does the idea of prospecting scare you a bit? And how can you overcome that fear? So now I'm going to allow you guys to pause and discuss within the group here, and then we'll revisit on the next slide.
So what do you guys think? How do you feel about, fanatical prospecting be used in your role?
I think what Dan's alluding to is we need a hot tub.
Yes, that's exactly. That was the same conclusion. So we'll put the hot tub in the office. Yeah, get it in the office.
Some big space right there.
Right out there.
Oh,
Change up the vibe here a little.
that's awesome. Little hot tub, little massage bed. Productivity level goes down. What do you guys think on your side, Michelle? Any ideas on just based on how he defined that?
Yeah, so I would say in my role, fanatical prospecting would probably translate into something like like for the interview processes that we have going and the candidates that we're looking to hire, I think my goal should be to, figure out who is excited about what we're excited about. And the way I would do that is be excited about what we're doing, right? And have a really good way of communicating that with them and like portraying our culture, even in just like the small times that we get together. So I think that would be probably my highest and best fanatical prospecting in the role I'm currently in.
Yeah, that's great. Good word. What about you, Allison?
We were just talking about communication styles, Tom and I think that is one of the most like complicated and exciting things to navigate in this role, because we all have our own communication styles, but we really have to like adapt them to our clients, and do that in a positive way. Like Tom likes to call people, not my jam, but but probably some people do work best that way, or probably some people do only text, and to be able to just be really adaptable, I think is key.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, just the adaptability is just a great idea. I read a book, I think maybe a year ago, and I can't remember, it was called The Like Button or something like that. And it was a FBI agent who was also a PhD in psychology. And so he talked about all these different realities about how people mimic other people to connect with them. The way that they cock their head, or the tone of their voice, or the speed at which they speak. If you start mimicking those things, that your connection and velocity of how fast you'll connect with them will change dramatically. And there's study after study after study of this stuff. Just, if you sit down with somebody, I've talked to the guys about this too, just, crossing your arms, if they cross their arms, and if their hand movements are more, you'll connect with them faster because they just feel more comfortable. So the adaptability is a great idea. So just reminded me of that. What about you, Mr. Philly P?
Yeah. Well, in my role, majority of what we're doing is fanatical prospecting and prospecting in general. On the second bullet point that Dan has, how does it scare you a bit? I think from, super high level, and kind of what it boils down to is just rejection. I think that's just kind of the fear. It's just rejection. And if you think of it, the worst that can happen is it can say no, but the best thing that can happen is a very fantastic relationship, and close a couple of deals, and bring them into our culture. So I like to think of it like that.
That's good thoughts.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts before we go? I remember years ago that a guy told me, he said, you're actually looking for no. Like you're not trying to go for a bunch of yeses, you're trying to go for a bunch of nos. And he said, if you focus on that, you'll have so much more peace, because you'll quickly just like get to someone that you go, great, that's not the person. Great, that's not the person. And then you'll finally meet the person that's the yes, And so it changed my perspective a lot on, I'm not looking, I want the no's fast, because then I'll get to the right yes when it's ready. So it's good stuff. Thanks, Dan.
So there's different ways to prospect. I hope you guys had a good conversation in the last discussion here. The ways to prospect are really by building familiarity. Example, there's billboards, there's commercials, there's LinkedIn. There's a lot of different aspects of building familiarity. There's one thing I always remember, and that's like the Learner and Row commercials that you hear on TV all the time. But then you know where to go because it's Learner and Row, they just 959755510, whatever that number is, but it rings to you. So I know that was a horrible example, but I'm just sharing that you're always going to remember one part of that commercial that reminds you of, okay, if I need an attorney, I just need to Google Learner and Row, because they're going to be the right people to help me. And also another strategy is actually calling. You can do this by cold calling or leaving an effective voicemail. So cold calling is actually a really effective strategy to prospect, because calling someone at the right time can lead to some of the biggest, most effective relationships. I've personally built some of my most successful relationships through cold calling in this business, and it's really fantastic. Some of my really good friends now, after a couple of years in it, they were just cold calls, and it's amazing how that can really build into something special. Text messaging. People will look at their phones. It's just natural. Whenever your phone buzzes, you want to look at it. So it's a good way to get someone's attention. I wouldn't recommend using that as a sales tactic, but it is a good way to get someone familiar with who you are. And also email. I'd like to use email as a follow-up after a call, just to remind them, hey, I'm here. I just talked to you and would love to share more about us and what we can do to help you. So email is a really effective tool as well. And as you get to know someone, email is a lot easier sometimes than them taking 10 minutes or 15 minutes to talk to you almost every month or whatever that is. So sometimes people even ask me, hey, I know you well enough. Let's just email and we'll accomplish a lot together. So we also want to be respectful of people's space. So now I'm just going to pause again and we can discuss, how have you seen people and companies build familiarity effectively? I did leverage that example of Lerner and Rowe. It was kind of a bad one, but there's a lot of different aspects of commercials that we've probably seen where we think, oh yeah, if I ever need, an attorney, I know who to call, or if I need plumbing, I can call Parker and Sons. There's a lot of different people and ways that we can relate to one another as examples do come up. And also, just interestingly thought about this one, how have you ever been cold called? And what are some thoughts you have when you receive a cold call? Are you a little bit nervous, shy? Are you kind of annoyed? How do you kind of feel from the other side?
Okay, what do you guys think about the concept of familiarity? Any examples that stand out, or?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, familiarity is like the king. It's like and just even like it's more about like the minor things. It's not like the Learn or Grow one. It's kind of like cheesy over the top, but it really works.
Yeah.
But I mean, like the little checking in and anything or even down to like the likes on like the LinkedIn stuff, or if somebody shares something on LinkedIn, liking it, or if somebody sends out closed 6 deals this month, responding with like, wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
Like that sort of stuff I think is big.
Yeah.
So
It's good.
but I think it takes time, because I think it was Fanatical Prospecting that's talking about like the number of like touches to like before somebody's like actually, it's like each time you're sending, like building familiarity with those little minor touches, it gets you there.
Yeah, it's good thoughts. Any other thoughts around familiarity at all?
Yeah, mine's kind of funny. My, like on Instagram, it targets you. And I know, Dave, you wouldn't know because you don't have an Instagram, but but they target you with these ads because, you've talked about certain things, when your app wasn't even open, which is so terrifying. But yeah, it's always listening. And so it'll target ads at me, and I'll think that this product is like the top of the market because I'm like, oh yeah, I see things all the time for it. And I'll bring it up to someone and they'll be like, I've never seen that product. And like, I don't know that that's like a legitimate thing. So it's kind of cracked me up because I'm like, oh gosh, that's so funny how they literally brainwashed me into thinking this was like such a great or a big product. And in reality, like nobody really knows about it. I was just getting targeted. And so obviously became familiar to me.
That's really
Yeah,
cool.
that's so true. I've seen that even on YouTube. Like all of a sudden I'm like, how did that get on YouTube? Like the advertisement thing, because so there is tracking. People are big brothers upstairs.
Oh yeah.
But I think I'll give you an example on my side. So Michael Hyatt, I've read his book of his or two, and he just has all these little touch points that email this and that. Then I just hopped on a webinar of his, and there's all these and so like I just have built trust around the guy. Like he's given so much value, and there's been so much consistency, and I've seen it so much that I just have a natural trust. If a book came up again, I'd be like, oh yeah, I trust that guy, right? So there's just familiarity builds trust. I mean, you just what it is you just see something enough and go, okay, well, I trust a Starbucks, or I trust a Coke, or I trust that McDonald's will kill me if I keep eating there, but no, but you get the point. Like you see enough things, you're like, okay, yeah, that's a trusted brand, or that's a trusted name, for sure. So I think there's something to that, right? And you're out there enough. I mean, I've been doing it for 18 years, so people just trust me. I've been around a long time, and they just have a trust, right? Because they've just been around for a long time. Might not be even as great as somebody else. It's just, you're there. So, so good. We'll move on to mental toughness.
So I hope you guys had some good discussion on those questions prior here. Next thing I want to talk about is mental toughness. So there's a lot of different aspects of mental toughness that play in, and some of those include self-confidence, attention control, minimizing negative energy, increasing positive energy, maintaining motivational levels, attitude control, visual and imagery control. So these are all some significant ways to impact your mental toughness. One thing that I really enjoyed was actually a story that Dave had shared about one day his children were being a little bit negative in the car, and he made it a strong point to share how everything was really positive and really great, and everything was going awesome, and how it's a beautiful day. And that really, it actually impacted me personally, because I thought about it. We're so quick to go to negative at times that sometimes just having that positive energy will bring out some of the best things in you that you don't ever imagine possible. So, one thing that I've been trying to do more frequently is wake up and think, this is going to be an amazing day. I'm so lucky to be alive. I'm so lucky to have a car to drive to work. I'm so lucky I get to pick up the phone and call these people, and I don't know who I'm going to meet, but I can't wait to do it. So these are some ways that we can really impact ourselves, but also the people around us through mental toughness. And I know it's hard sometimes because, there are challenges in what we do, but it's a really big, it's important to think about the impact we're making on the families that we help, giving back to the poor and disenfranchised. Every deal we close brings, more resources to someone new. So it's really important for us to think about it from the positive aspect as well. So I'm going to pause the video and we can discuss. What are some ways you can practice mental toughness? So there's a lot of different ways I do it, even at the gym, and I'm going to probably tell a story about that in a little bit here. So I will let you guys kind of take it over.
What do you guys do? Practice mental toughness?
I was thinking about this on the last slide too, but the charity I work for, or that I volunteer for, I'm in a way, I'm constantly asking for people's donations, for raffle items, for sponsors. I've been selling this idea for years, and the familiarity has helped a lot over the years. Lerner and Rowe was one of our big sponsors at our last event, actually.
Awesome.
But when I get these teams of volunteers that I want to help me, and I'm like, I want you to reach out to 100 businesses to give a raffle item. That is very hard for people, and they're like, I'm not built for that. I can't take that sort of negative response. I don't want to bother people, of course, the things we all feel. And this is a different way of looking at it, but I was like, I don't get no's. I only get yeses. And I was like, it might take 25 reach outs for me to get a raffle item. It probably does. Yeah. And I've just built rapport with 25 people, and they know who I am, and they know what I stand for. Oftentimes those end up circling back later. But I got 100 raffle items, and I got all these yeses. I don't think about the 500 bypasses. I just think of those. So I was like, I don't get no's. I either usually get nothing or a circle back with me next year, which I think is an opportunity. So I was like, don't think of it that way. And that's helped me, just shift my thinking, because we're just sort of designed to hone in on the one negative thing that happened to us. Right. And it takes work to not do that.
It's so true. I love that. Just the perspective change, to be able to see the yeses that are coming. So that's really awesome. It's a great way to be mentally tough. What else? Phil, what about you? What do you do to stay mentally tough?
Yeah, kind of along the lines there, what was just said there. For me, it's almost creating a habit of the sort. So in the morning routine, just laying out the things what you're grateful for and just doing it over and over for me, like the mental, just like this is gonna be good, like, or I'm gonna have a great conversation with this guy and this meeting's gonna go really well. But doing that every time before a meeting kind of helps just toughen it. Like for me at least, just um, from an internal perspective, just creating a good habit like that to make sure, just to keep forming and just to make it a habit, just make it second nature that things are gonna go well.
It's great. Yeah. Yeah. Just the reframing and creating habits in your thought life is pretty awesome. So great work.
Mhm.
Okay, let's keep going.
So, excel by finishing is one of our core values here at Integrity Capital. And we are leaders. We finish what we start. So, one thing that always stuck out to me was that everyone can start, but not everyone can finish. And that is a huge deal, and one thing that struck out to me in my workout, it was a couple of years ago. We were working out with the high school basketball team at the gym I go to, and they were doing stairs. I was doing stairs too. And, I was just trying to keep up with them. And I just realized quickly that I'm no longer 15 years old and I can't run the way I used to. But I also was kind of hanging with them and, hit a point where they did so many. I did so many. I did not want to continue at all. I had like 5 to go and I was just mentally knocked out. I was beat up physically and mentally. And I was just like, how in the world am I going to keep up with these kids? They are just next level. They're super fast. I still have 5 to go. They probably have like 1 to go. I've been lapped a couple times. I'm just very defeated. But then I looked at it and I said, you know what? I'm going to finish no matter what, even if I'm last. These kids have, 10 years on me. It's okay if I'm last. No one's going to make fun of me. But I just need to prove to myself that I can finish this. So I did. And nothing felt better than ending that workout knowing that I was able to finish. And that honestly just helped me grow mentally and physically because not only did I prove it, but also I just accelerated the opportunity for myself to believe that my limits are actually a lot further than I believed they were. So as bad as I wanted to quit, I just kept going. And also learning. Our culture is perfect for our growth. We are leaders that are readers. That's one thing that always stuck out to me is that we do a lot of reading here. The sales team does a lot of audiobooks and sales training and leadership training that we're reading a ton of books, but it's also really informative and it's helpful for us not only to grow as an organization, but in our own knowledge because, at the end of the day, if we don't take the time to read, we're never going to really progress. It's really tough to keep growing when you're not challenging yourself in a different way. So one thing I've actually been doing, and Fanatical Prospecting, the book actually recommended, is audiobooks. So on my drive to work every day, I've been actually turning on an audiobook, listening to that each day on my way to work, on my way back. And I've learned a ton. And just 15 minutes a day will have a huge impact on your growth and learning, and also just kind of challenge you a little bit. So that was a key takeaway from the book as well that I really enjoyed. Also physical resilience. When we're mentally tough, we're also physically tough. And sometimes that means just getting regular exercise. If you can get 3 days, 4 days of exercise a time each time, 30 minutes a time, that's perfect. That's technically what you should be doing. Now I try to make it 4 days a week at minimum. And then I try to do other activities like yoga just to stay kind of loose. Another thing I try to do is sleep well. Try to get at least 7 hours or 8 hours, whatever works for you. And also just dieting and eating healthy. It's a big component. And one thing I actually left out was just drink a ton of water. I try to drink at least 64 ounces or 116 ounces each day. So I'm always just chugging water because it's a key component to my overall health and well-being. I also do drink a lot of coffee, so it's probably to offset the hydration aspect that I'm dehydrating. And then also just your attitude, having your positive attitude, it just goes so far each day. So I'm going to pause the video and we can discuss, where are you powerful with relation to physical resilience, and where do you need to improve? Maybe you're really powerful at working out a lot, but you're not good at eating well. So how can you maybe improve that? So I want you guys to talk amongst yourselves and sort that out. That'd be awesome.
All right. Where are you powerful? What do you guys think?
Dan.
I was going to say, he doesn't have kids yet. He doesn't have kids yet. That will change. Oh.
I feel like, to me, like a strength and a weakness that I'm always battling is I can be very like all or nothing. So I'm like eating clean, going to HIIT training every day, running marathons, or I'm like, crumble cookies and watching like my 30th episode of The Office, which it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Sure.
And I'm always like, if I fall off the deep end, I don't just have to like dive fully in.
Right. Been there. That's great. Good thing to remember too. Like, sometimes we go like, forget it. And that's a good reminder of mine. Yeah, I would say, for me, just I get up in the morning and that's the first thing I do is just work out. Like I roll out of bed and go out, make my wife coffee, and work out, turn my Bible app on and just go. And that's just become a habit for me. Just every single day, 6 days a week, I just do it. Because it just kind of keeps me mentally together, and for sure. And so just I think for me, I've definitely had to work on slowing down for sure. I mean, that's been a battle area for me, is just having to slow down, hit the pause button, and not do anything, which is very difficult for Mr. David to do. So that's an area for growth for sure. How about you guys behind the teleprompter?
Yes, I'm here. I would say I'm most powerful definitely with eating and nutrition. That's just always something that's been a big part of my life, and it just comes pretty naturally to me because I really like the flavor of healthy foods. I also really love like not healthy foods, but I just think I've struck a balance for most of my life. So that's good and powerful. But then the other side of that is that it's funny, I am a very active person, but during this season of my life, I just feel like, gosh, it's so hard to expend any more energy than I feel like I'm already giving towards life in general. And so I think it's to the point now where it's become a mentality that's like, oh, I'm always just tired versus, kind of bringing that back in as a habit in my life of working out, of going on runs, doing all the things I used to love doing. So I think I definitely could stand to grow in that area. And I think also they're also linked that, that could stimulate growth in another area, so it's powerful to see how all the different areas of mental toughness, when you start to tackle one, it's kind of like a domino effect.
Yeah, no, we've got facets for sure. Well, good. Well, let's see Mr. Dan.
So one thing I wanted to share was the one more call aspect. So this actually came up not only in this book, but a book we read previously. And it was so interesting because, they really hone in on the idea of, before you leave, make one more call and you're not going to believe what happens. So interestingly, it was 5:45 p.m. on a Friday and my phone rang and I did not want to pick up. I was like, it's 5:45. I'm about to go have dinner with my wife, Kelly. And I was like, I don't know if it's a good idea for me to pick this up because I might end up on the phone and, I want to be respectful of our time together. However, it ended up being one of the most fruitful calls I could have ever answered because it ended up beginning a new relationship. but also there was 2 deals that came in this one package. And so that's a huge success story. It started off with just 1 deal, and then said, I really enjoyed working with you, and I've gotten to know you a lot better. So, I have another deal I'm looking at. I'd love for you to help me finance it. And none of that would have been possible if I didn't pick up the phone on Friday at 5:45. It's a little different. I didn't call him. He did call me, but I had the choice to answer or not answer. So if I didn't answer, I would have had these 2 opportunities. So it's a relatively cool success story. So I'd like for you guys to share a success story, but also I'd love to thank you guys for listening to me. I know this was kind of funky with the video, and I appreciate you bearing with me. I really enjoyed the opportunity to present to you. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed.
Awesome.